And we're back.
Like one more attempt for Instagram, guys, and then we'll get going. All right, we're gonna just assume that's not gonna work today. Yeah, so we should be live now. My name is Charlie Minato. I'm from halfwheel.com. To my right on your screen is Brooks Whittington. Brooks, how are you doing this Wednesday?
Doing Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday. I'm doing great. Little rain outside. Hopefully we don't get major hail. Oops.
We're not going to talk about the part where I almost smashed your camera over. Are we supposed to get hail today?
Big hail, yeah. Somewhere, Metroplex.
In like Roanoke?
Well, north, somewhere. But it's always a possibility. They could come down here.
Somebody wants to know, is your mic on?
I don't know.
It looks like it's on my end.
Can you hear me?
I mean, it's showing up over there, but...
Do I need to talk louder?
Hopefully not.
Louder. Swing low.
Yeah, it looks to be on. If it's not on, if somebody else could be on, Griffin could let us know, then...
Could just be Griffin's computer.
Yeah, I don't know. All right. My name is Charlie Minato. We've already done that. Welcome to Half Wheel's PCA 2025 live show number 3. This will be our final pre-show one. We do have one more coming, which we'll get to in a second. This is an annual tradition. We've been doing it. I remember doing it in the old office, so that's at least 2019. I don't know if we've done it before that. This is 10 new products that we're looking forward to. We'll explain the sort of concept, but it's there are a lot of new products. We got to finish the show up so I can write about more of them, and Brooks has a story coming out in 53 minutes about another new product. So there are lots of new products coming out this year because of the PCA Convention Trade Show, which takes place next week in New Orleans. And so we are going to talk about 10 of the new products that have intrigued us. These are not going to be our necessarily like 10 favorite products, and certainly they are not going to be the products that if we had to do the show on, say, April 15th, I don't know how many of them would honestly make the list. A lot of that is because I would guess that about a quarter of the new products that are going to be unveiled at the PCA Convention Trade Show have been announced as of this morning. So we are working with a very limited sample size, and we'll have different opinions. So if you're wondering, like, hey, why are there no products from Arturo Fuente or Padron or Illusione? The answer would be that those companies have not announced any new products that they are debuting at the trade show, and so we're working with the companies that have, and it's a limited list. Speaking of that upcoming show, we'll be back after the PCA Convention Trade Show on April 18th. We'll do a variety of things. I don't think we're going to necessarily do our 10 favorite products, but we will kind of cover that throughout the show. We will have daily updates this time, where each one of our writers tell you the coolest thing that they saw during the trade show each day, and then we also, each one of our writers produces something called Top 3 Things at the end of the show, which is very much a, here are the 3 favorite products that they saw for whatever reason. And so you'll get to hear from Brooks and I in a different format, but maybe not on video. Brooks, what cigars are you smoking?
Cigars?
Yeah.
I am smoking one cigar from Overcraft, the Craft La Menstreza.
Minestrone?
That's whatever it is. It was our cigar of the year last year. I can't say it, but I can smoke it, and it's good. What about you?
I grabbed a Liga Privada number 9, Corona Viva.
Oh, yeah.
Might be time to change the Bovedas in that tub. It's a little dry.
How often do you go through and change those?
I'm trying. Every time I open up one of the tubs, I check them. And so, like, this morning when I opened up that tub, I checked the Boveda packs. There was a little bit of life left in them, and then I realized that I had 17 other things to do at that particular moment in time. And so I closed the tub and did not replace the Bovedas. But I'm trying to do so, because otherwise you end up with dry cigars. Okay. Somebody says that your mic is not picking up sound, and
It's a good thing, because I murdered that sound of that name.
Huh. I don't... I mean, the weird part is that, like, let me see if I can hear you. Can you talk into your microphone, Brooks?
I can, yes.
Oh, yeah, no. What happened?
Nobody wants to hear me anymore.
It's a problem that you can't vamp. I'm gonna need you to keep talking, Brooks.
Talk. Excuse me. Talking. Yes. So, the tortoise. Now, Diggs, Lee says she wants to put a cat door in for the tortoise, but I'm not sure I want her wandering around the house uninhibited, because that's not a good idea. It's just getting bigger and bigger, and I have to get her another house at some point. Right now, she's in a converted dog house.
You can stop, Brooks.
Okay. Joe, what song would you like me to sing?
He can't hear you.
You can read this.
All right. We are going to start this over, and if anyone has any suggestions about software that's an alternative to StreamYard that is more stable, would love to know. Absolutely would love to know. All right.
See, he heard me. Saw me.
This is Half Wheels 2025 PCA Convention Trade Show live show number 3, pre-show. My name is Charlie Minato. You've been hearing me talk. Brooks Whittington.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, they can hear you now.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it turns out when the first StreamYard issue was happening, it also reset the audio settings. So, fun times. Hopefully the audio is a lot better now that you're not hearing our computer audio. Apologies. If you took the over on technical difficulties, I believe you have already hit or you're very close because it was at 1.5. Probably should have gone 2.5 there. So, today's show, 10 new products we're looking forward to. I guess you could hear me, but just to recap this very quickly, we're going to talk about 10 products that have intrigued us that are debuting at the 2025 PCA Convention and Trade Show next week in New Orleans. It occurs to me that at least one of the products on Brooks's list is actually already shipped, so that would be a fail. And you'll get to hear from Brooks this time. Brooks, do you want to tell them what cigar that you are smoking?
Really. I am smoking the top 25 number 1 cigar of the year last year for us, the Romacraft. Wait. La Maestranza. Maestranza.
Right. It's not like we had a whole show just about that cigar.
Yes, that's true, but I didn't have to say the word. So, it's good.
How did you not have to say it?
I think you probably said it most of the time.
I don't think that's true.
Yes, it's a good cigar.
All right.
I can't say it, but I can smoke it. What about you? And you were smoking the Corona Viva.
Yeah. The Liga Prada Corona Viva number 9. Burning quite well. A little dry, but that's fine. So, Eric V wants to know the number 1 question. Burning question. What will AJ Fernandez's booth look like this year? We were going to talk about this regardless of whether or not Eric wanted to make a minor joke here. For those of you that are unaware, on Monday, there was a large fire at the main AJ Fernandez factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. AJ has another factory. It's about 40 minutes north or 40 miles. I forget if it's miles or minutes north. In Alcatal, the San Latano factory, which is the factory that produces a lot of stuff for Espinosa as well as Guy Fieri's Knuckle Sandwich cigars. The main AJ factory is not the largest cigar factory in the world. It is certainly amongst the largest cigar factories in the world. And there is not a factory that could have an issue like this the week before the trade show that would be more impactful to the trade show than the AJ Fernandez factory. And that is because AJ, while not the largest tobacco operation in the world, I believe AJ Fernandez makes more cigars for, or makes cigars for more other entities, companies, and people than anyone else does. It's one of the things he really, really prides himself on is just how many people he has as clients. which is entirely understandable. And they range from the largest cigar companies, or amongst the largest cigar companies in the U.S. So that would be General Cigar Company, the company behind CAO, Macanudo, Non-Cuban Cohiba, Partagas, Altadas USA, which is sort of General's direct competitor. And so that's the non-Cuban Monte Cristo and Romeo y Julieta and H. Upman. And increasingly, especially on the Altadas side, that factory is really an important cog there. And then there's a host of medium and even small companies, and they range from Artesano del Tabaco to Southern Draw. Crux has a cigar made there. Dion at Illusione has a cigar made by AJ, but at a different factory. Obviously, Espinosa's got a lot of cigars made there. It's going to impact a lot of companies. The building, for those of you that are wondering, my understanding is still there. It looked like it was pretty contained to just one area. A lot of cigars were destroyed. I have asked the company for a number and have not heard back to confirm that, but the building, the inside of the building was on fire, and there was a lot of smoke. So a lot of cigars, even if they weren't necessarily engulfed in fire, have been contaminated and will be discarded. Fires are never good, and they happen, I think, more frequently than we report about them happening. But for the most part, most of the major cigar factories, and I'm not just talking about the ones that are making 10, 15 million cigars a year, but the ones that are making 1 million to 2 million cigars a year, it's somewhat of a miracle, quite frankly, that more of them don't catch on fire at regularity. It does, you might think, like, oh, you guys are always writing about fires, whether it's a warehouse fire or this fire, but there are thousands of buildings all around the world that are important for the premium cigar industry, and we write about like 2 or 3 fires a year, which is still way more than I'd like to, and it does seem to be increasing in frequency, but it's not percentage-wise like 2% of the buildings catch on fire once a year. That all said, it's going to be impactful, and we're going to, at least in one area today, like, there is a question of, like, when will we see this cigar, because it's a new cigar that is being made at that factory. So certainly, you know, I don't think there's anything that Half Wheel can do to help out AJ Fernandez and the team over there. But when I heard that that was potentially happening and then got confirmation pretty quickly that it was happening, never a good feeling, and certainly don't wish that upon anyone. And AJ Abdel seems to be having a good attitude about resilience. And that's certainly, knowing him, that would be part of his story. And I have no doubt that, I mean, when they had a barn catch on fire a handful of years ago, he was super proud that, like, the next day they had new tractors and they were rebuilding the barn, like, literally the next day on the weekend. And I wouldn't surprise, like, that is the attitude I expect that he probably has right now. So with that out of the way, we're going to talk about some cigars. 10 new products we're looking forward to. So we have like a little bit of a thing here, Brooks, right? So we're going to introduce the product to, like, tell you what it is. We're not going to go into super detail. Like, we're not going to give you necessarily the MSRPs and the box counts and those sorts of things. You can read all about these cigars on Half Wheel or the cigar accessories that make this list. Then we're going to tell you the one, and Brooks, we're going to be very clear here, the number one reason why each of us put this on the list, because we each have 5 of these products. One thing. And then we're going to do a little bit of an interesting thing. And we will give our prediction about kind of how we think we're going to remember this cigar come the end of the year, or this cigar accessory. So with that out of the way, and on the AJ Fernandez note, Brooks, you want to talk about your first cigar?
Yes, so my first cigar is the Foundation 10-year Aniversario. Now, this is a 7x58 Salomon that is being produced by Foundation to commemorate, as the name suggests, commemorate the 10th year of the cigar company in business. Now, you know, this is not an unusual Vitola for Foundation. They've used similar Vitolas in the past, including the Highclere Classel Synager and the Tabernacle Knight Commander. Not exactly the same, but it is. They're very, very similar. Now, the one thing that I loved about this, and the interesting thing, I actually reached out to Nick because he has said that that the company is using a brand new wrapper, let me make sure I get this right, cross of a Connecticut broadleaf and a Connecticut Havana seed grown at the farm where Foundation home offices are based in Ellington, Connecticut. Now, according to Nick, this is the first time the wrapper has been used on any of his products that have been released to the public. Very, very interesting hybrid wrapper that I can't wait to try, and that's why it's on my list. Now, in terms of what I think it'll be, what we think about it. The interesting thing is, as Charlie mentioned, this fire. This is the first cigar that is. But no, not the first cigar. Sorry, this is a cigar that is being made at AJ's factory in Nicaragua that was just damaged by the fire. So whether it actually ships or not is going to be the interesting question for the end of the year.
Yeah, because the date that Nick announced a couple weeks ago was late summer, early fall. When I see that, I say it'll ship sometime in fall, and then there's the fire, and so I'm thinking hopefully by the end of the year.
Hopefully, maybe they're already made. I mean, you don't know. I didn't ask
that
him
actually might not be a good thing in this context, but
they were sitting there.
Probably, I mean, the cigars might be rolled, but
Yeah.
I would suspect the packaging is not done. All right. The first cigar up on my list is the La Rosa 520 10-year from HVC. This is a cigar that does not celebrate the 10th anniversary of HVC. That took place a couple years ago. It celebrates the 10th anniversary of the release of the HVC La Rosa 520, which, in my opinion, is the best HVC I've ever smoked by a pretty significant margin. It is a cigar that finished number 10 on our 2015 Top 25, and a cigar that I would say is somewhere in between the like great to excellent category type of cigars. Just not many cigars come out in a given year that I would put in that category, like maybe a handful, or I guess like 10, according to our Top 25 list. Here's the deal, though. This cigar is a different blend in a different vitola, made at a different factory 10 years after that cigar was. So I'm not necessarily expecting it to be as brilliant as the first one was, and there have been subsequent La Rosa 520s that have all been good. I can't recall any of them that have been bad, but or even average. But none of them have come to that like sort of upper echelon that the original one did. And I put it on here because like I loved that first cigar so much that I'm just going to keep trying it. It reminds me sort of Illusione and Singulare, where like Dion can keep putting out Singulares, and I'm going to keep trying them because the reputation just sort of precedes it. And if this is a good La Rosa 520 release, like good for the La Rosa 520, that means it's going to be an excellent cigar. And so I think that this cigar has a good chance of, if it's 90% of the original, a very good chance of ending up on top 25 lists and potentially the consensus, because that's how good that cigar was. And also a big fan of the size and back-to-back selling ones from you and I here.
Hey.
All right.
All right, my second cigar is the Hoya de Nicaragua, Antonio, Connecticut, that's a long name, Grand Consul. Now, at 4 3/4 by 60, this is the thickest and the shortest vitola in the Antonio, Connecticut line so far. It's also the first limited edition in the line. There are 6 different vitolas. This is the first one that has been a limited edition. Only 5,000 cigars packed in boxes of 20. Now, what I love about this is the fact that the Robusto of this vitola, when it was released in 2019, actually got on our was awarded our Cigar of the Year in 2019. And I really, really love it. I've loved every single vitola that I have smoked of this line, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it actually performs in a 60 ring gauge. I don't like the length as much, but the 60 ring gauge is really very interesting to me to see how this smokes. Do I think that it'll be as good? I really hope so. If it is as good, we will look on it very favorably by the end of the year, and I would not be surprised if it was on our list. What do you think, Charlie?
I think the next thing that I'm going to talk about is probably not going to make our top 25.
Okay.
I hope I got that right. It's an accessory, right? It'd be funny if it's not.
It is an accessory. Think it is accessory. There you go.
There we go. It's the Cigar Medics Il Maestro. Is that what it's called?
El Maestro.
Il. It's Italian.
El?
E-I-L. Il. Yeah. This is a cutter that might look familiar to many of you because it is based on, or it looks very similar to, a cutter that Cigar Medics makes for Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, the Guillotina de Saka. There are some differences, Brooks, and I'm curious to know if you've gotten a better sense of what those differences are. The one difference I can tell you is that the cutter that you see on the screen right now is $395, and this one is what, $120? Something like that?
Correct.
Yeah. So it's a lot more affordable. Brooks, you reviewed the Guillotina de Saka.
I have not.
You've not
reviewed that as of yet.
You've been working on the review for
A
long time.
Indeed.
I've played around with the cutter. It is I think it's kind of everything that Saga said it was going to be. Overbuilt, replaceable blades, probably not a good value in terms of like you could buy a lot of great cutters for a 20th of the price. But it is certainly an engineering, like what happens when someone just spends a lot of money over engineering a cigar cutter. I'm curious about this one because it's more affordable. I'd like. Did you get a better sense of like what the differences are here between the two?
The main difference that, from what I understand, is the exterior finish, what it's made of on the exterior. The blade is the same. It does not come with an extra blade, so that was one of the things that is different about it. But in terms of design, it is essentially the same.
And the original, the Dunbarton version, if I'm not mistaken, it has on one end the opening is smaller than the other end, right?
Correct. So you can actually cut different sizes. One end is
it's more comfortable, I guess, to cut different sizes, like that.
He wanted it that's the way he can. Yes, this is exactly the same. Yes.
So
the minus, you can see the minus on the bottom left there.
Yeah.
That's for the smaller Vitola. On the other side, there's a plus. That's for the larger Vitola.
Is it the same dimensions as the like?
It is the same cutter.
So just a different material.
From what I understand, it's a material is the main difference. The exterior material is the main difference. Yes.
Got it. Yeah. So
and the fact that it doesn't come with an extra blade.
Yeah, I'm interested to. I thought there was more differences.
It's fun to use. I mean, I haven't seen this one, but the Dunbarton one is fun to use. It could be
I'm
used
curious,
as a
to see if the same sort of opening mechanism. Like, it can't be the case that they saved half of the money just by changing the exterior body and not including a blade.
There is another difference, but I've forgotten what it is. So,
got it.
Something to do with the locking mechanism, I think.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm curious to see. The one thing that stands out to me about this product from a sales perspective that I would be concerned at if I was Cigar Medics is what happens if all of the people that were interested in buying an over-engineered cutter with replaceable blades already did so, and there just isn't that much of a market between the people that were willing to spend $400 on the cutter and the people that are willing to spend $120 on the cutter. That gap is actually not that big, but we'll see. And it certainly is an interesting cutter. We have a question from the comments. Eric V. getting commenter of the day from Half Wheel. Is anyone else looking forward to the Punch meat tips? That was an April Fool's joke from General Cigar Company's Punch brand. I will say this, though. They have another meat-themed punch on the horizon.
Meat-themed punch.
Yeah, you've actually seen a picture of it.
I have.
Yeah.
That is very good.
Is it going to be on this list?
Way to put it.
We don't know.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Drew Estate Izzy. Just a reminder that the Freestyle Live Reveal Show is coming up soon. Please make sure you check out our social media platforms, Facebook, as well as Instagram to find out dates and times for the Reveal Show. In addition, make sure you grab those Freestyle Live packs. You can find out where to get those packs from your retailers on our Drew Estate website. We'll see you guys soon.
We're back. All right, Brooks.
All right.
Next on your list.
So, number three for me. Number 3 for me is the Volstead Judas Hole from Romacraft Tobacco. This is a 6.5 by 44 Lonsdale, part of the limited production portfolio that Romacraft makes, which includes also things like the Clovis and the Blockhead and the Mastodon lines. It's named after the Volstead Act in 1919 and was actually put into place in 1920.
What is the Volstead Act?
What's that? Volstead Act was the act that started prohibition. Put prohibition into place. So the names of all of these Vitolas are actually come from that period of history, that time of history that Romacraft has named these Vitolas. And this one is no different. Judas Hole is actually a small hole in the door or something that you can only see one way, which makes it very easy for people to do very illegal things back in the day. Now, I love the Vitola from this, and I've loved every single one of the sizes that I've smoked, and I really love the Lonsdale Vitola. I've always been a big fan of it, and that's really one of the reasons that the reason I put it on my list is because I'm really looking forward to trying an actual Lonsdale Vitola 6.5 by 44.
Cool. Where do you think it'll how we're?
I think it'll be
this?
great, and I think it will definitely. If we review it, I don't know if we're going to review it, but if we review it, I think it will do very, very well.
I mean, there are a lot of new intemperance cigars to choose from.
I'm willing to bet you, indeed. I'm willing to bet that it will do very well in our scores.
Okay. Also from Nika Sueño, sort of interesting. That was added at the last minute, and so we now have 2 cigars from Nika Sueño. This is the Viso Horny 555 or 555 or 555. I don't. Cinco Cinco Cinco. This is the second cigar from
Cinco 3.
Tyler and Viso Horny. The first one was not sold like in normal channels. Tyler took some orders on his Instagram page, and you could DM him and get a 5-pack or a 10-pack, I guess. Which is actually that's how Romacraft started. The original Cro-Magnons were sold that way, only on Instagram or Twitter, only on Twitter. And yeah, so this is the second size. The first size, I don't know if it's going to come back and be offered to stores. This one is going to be sold through Pospiech, the distribution house that's part of Pestania and Cigar Hustler. And so you will get to see these in stores. It's made entirely of tobacco from the Viso priming. So in a tobacco plant, you have Sego Viso Ligero. That's kind of how they break up in very broad terms vertically the leaf. So the leaves at the very top are known as Ligero, and that's why cigar companies like to advertise it. They tend to be stronger, both in terms of flavor and also in terms of nicotine content, because they get more sunlight. And the ones at the bottom, they tend to be larger leaves, but they tend not to have as much strength or not necessarily flavor. And the seed plays a role in the soil and where it's grown and all sorts of other things. But it's a cigar made entirely of Viso. And Tyler has an interesting story in the cigar business. He's worked at a couple shops in Wisconsin. He moved to Austin. He works his day job at Southwest, but he spent a lot of time, more time than I have, in Esteli, Nicaragua, taking the sort of Skip Martin School of Tobacco, spending a lot of time in pre-industry. And I've smoked the first cigar, thought it was very good. Curious to smoke this other one, and right now, if you had to go pick a cigar factory to make a cigar at, it would be very difficult to find 5 factories I'd rather go do that at other than Nika Sueño. So I expect it'll be on the consensus, would be my guess. And if you're a retailer and you're wondering, hey, I don't know about this thing, I would say this. Your loyal Romacraft fans are already in the know about this because of how Romacraft does its marketing. And so I wouldn't be too hesitant to bring this in.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Tyler handed me one last year, and I smoked it and loved it. So there you go.
All right.
My fourth cigar is the Sin Compromiso Word of Saka. Now, we don't know very much about this yet. He hasn't released much. Saka has not released much information about this. It's part of the line of Sin Compromisos, almost 10 of those now that have been produced. The idea behind the line, which means without compromise in Spanish, is to make cigars that are really not held back by any of the normal, situations that you would have with when making cigars. Don't worry about the amount that it costs. Don't worry about the time that it takes. Don't worry about the materials and how much those cost, et cetera, et cetera.
And sorry to cut you off.
No, it's quite all right.
I
expected that.
Well, yeah, I mean, par for the course here. I think the other thing about Sin Compromiso is that it also, and it relates a lot to someone's been writing a lot of Romacraft stories of late.
Indeed.
The material, the other thing is also not being worried if you can't get very much of the material. So if there's a tobacco that is very limited where you've only got a bale or two, saying, okay, we'll make a cigar with this, which normally is not a great idea from a commercial standpoint.
Sorry because you can't make any more, and then people love it, and you're like, well, sorry. Well, one of the things that I love about this, the most important thing that I love about this is, the Sin Compromiso is always a must-try for me. I'm a big fan of the line so far, and all the cigars. They're different blends, but I've been a fan of everything that he's done in that regard. But it's really, the interesting thing for me is that this is actually made at a different factory, according to Saka, than the rest of them. This is actually made at Nicaragua American Cigars S.A., which is actually the same factory that produces the company's Mi Curita line. If we do review this, I expect it to do very, very well, and I would not be surprised if it made top 10.
Brooks, how do you think this cigar is going to be remembered by the end of the year? It's going to make the top 25.
It's going to make the top 25.
Charlie, how do you think this cigar is going to make the list? It's going to make the consensus.
I wouldn't choose something that I didn't think was going to make the top 25.
Yeah. One of the themes that I'm paying attention to heading into this year's show is there are a number of new cigars, like a much larger number than what we've been accustomed to coming from Noxa, from this factory. As you pointed out, Saka already has a long-standing relationship through Mikurita with Noxa. But like, this morning we wrote about a Crown Heads product. Last week we wrote about an Ozgunner product, both from Noxa. And there have been some others that have gone to Noxa. And I'm curious to know if there's something that Noxa is doing specifically in its ability to get cigars exported to the U.S., which is becoming an increasing issue in Nicaragua. I'm a bit concerned about, and I think sort of some people in the industry are concerned about some of the shipping issues getting stuff out of Nicaragua. So I'm curious to know if there's just something going on over there that's making it more attractive, or perhaps they're more aggressive about trying to get people to go over there. But yeah, do you think he's going to tell you?
I will ask him
the blend details about this.
Oh yeah, he'll tell me. Sure.
Well, because we have the prediction thing, right?
Oh, he won't tell me everything, but he'll tell me the blend details. I would imagine. Now that I've said that, he's not going to.
What did you take on the prediction show about that?
I said that he would not tell me all of the details for every release. There'll be something he doesn't want to say.
Yep. Justin Nelson has a question. Is this posted on YouTube? Because he's got some issues at Facebook. And the answer is yes. It is simulcasting to YouTube. We tried to get it on Instagram, but that totally did not work.
Or at least we assume it is.
Yeah. All right. Next up on my list is the My Father Blue. This is very blue and almost Tar Heel blue, which makes me want to vomit. But go Deeks. Baseball season, baby. Yeah, it's the first new line that's been announced from the new My Father factory in Honduras. And My Father has been growing tobacco in Honduras for a handful of years now. And over the last 2 years, has been building this giant building in Honduras. And it opened earlier. I think it actually opened last year, if I'm being quite honest. They started rolling cigars last year. The building has been done for a little while. They had their grand opening party a couple weeks ago, and I was not there, but it looked like a good time. And yeah, this is the first new line. I am curious, this is a prolific company that makes cigars for not just themselves, but also Taiwan, Ashton, Miami Cigar Company, and a variety of others. And his one, I would venture to guess, probably more, if not, it'd be very difficult to imagine that anyone has won as many awards as the Garcias have collectively from cigar media in the last 10 years. Not just from their own brand, but obviously from Taiwan and Ashton and some of these others. And now they're in Honduras with Honduran tobacco. It won't just be Honduran puros, but it's a whole new world. And it'll be very, very curious to see how they, not adapt, but how they use the soil and how they use this factory. I think what we are likely to see is a lot of new lines from the factory, and maybe not as much existing production moves over there, but I don't know. I've not spoken to the Garcias about this, but that would be my guess. And I also think that we're probably going to see some other new lines announced very soon. I don't know anything about this, but I just would have to imagine this is not the only one. But the reason why it's on this list is because as of right now, it is the only cigar that we can verifiably say is made at My Father Honduras is this My Father Blue. And therefore, I'm very interested in trying it just to see what the Garcias are doing with that tobacco. I don't know if this will make the consensus, because I think what's going to happen is there's probably going to be a half dozen new lines from My Father Honduras between now and the end of the year. And that will sort of take away the uniqueness. But I suppose if this is the only new line that they announce until the end of the year from the factory, then yeah, it probably will get a lot of attention. And that will help it in the consensus. And I have no idea about our top 25 list.
Yeah, they're really. They're the Garcias are not necessarily at the moment known for using Honduran tobacco. So I'm really interested to see how they are incorporating that into their blends. Very interested, actually. All right.
Speaking of Honduran
my last
tobacco,
cigar. Speaking of Honduran tobacco, you just stole that from me. Thank you.
You were saying my last cigar.
My last cigar is, speaking of Honduran tobacco.
You should put this in your will. You should be the final cigar I have to smoke. It's this Aladino 85 Aniversario Reserva.
The final cigar is what he said. The Aladino 85 Aniversario Reserva. This is a cigar. This is a cigar that was being created to celebrate Julio Eiroa's 85th birthday. There are two different sizes, 5x50 Robusto and a 6x52 Toro. And while it is a regular production line, interestingly, the company says it's only allowing retailers to order 4 boxes per month.
Out of your way to not have to mention this seed
Per
varietal.
size. I am absolutely not going to say that. The interesting thing about this is the aforementioned tobacco.
What tobacco?
The blend. I really screwed this up and will again during the pre-thing yesterday.
I don't remember the name off the top of my head.
The blend is actually made with an interesting tobacco called Pinarino.
Pinarino. I think
Pinarino.
Pinarino.
Pinarino. I'm white. So it's a very interesting tobacco that, to me, in Honduras, that I've heard about just recently, but I was very, very interested to hear about it. And it was actually brought to Honduras in the 1960s by Tino.
Why did you do this to yourself? You could have just been like, it's been there for 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
65
But it's known for it's known for smaller yields because it's more delicate and disease prone and that kind of thing. So it's very interesting. I think it'll be very interesting to try. Aladino has done some amazing things with Honduran tobacco. I got to be honest, before some of Aladino's stuff and Aroa's recent stuff in the last few years, I was not a big fan of Honduran tobacco. I have become a fan. They do amazing things with it, and I think it will be well received by the end of 2025.
Yeah, that question really just didn't end up adding much to this. I'm curious. It's very interesting to me. In the press release, they said this is going to be a relatively mild blend, so it's kind of interesting. We don't typically see a ton of companies advertising new mild blends despite the sales success. The final cigar on my list is the new Crown Heads Broadway, not broadleaf. It does use a broadleaf wrapper, though. It is made at Noxa. It is that aforementioned new Crown Heads release we read about this morning. It's on here not because of the cigar. It is on here because of the packaging. So my understanding is Crown Heads is going to introduce very similar packaging. There's a new Crown Heads logo you can see on the main band and a new secondary band that says Broadway on it. My understanding is this is coming to the rest of the portfolio. I don't know if it's coming to every single line in the portfolio, but this is going to be how a lot of these lines are going to be branded. They are going to do a full, I guess maybe not a full, but they are doing a very large-scale portfolio makeover of existing lines. Many of them will happen this year, and I imagine some of them will extend into 2026. But there's a quote in our story from John Huber that talks about how a lot of consumers that they've run into, I guess, don't understand that Crown Heads is the same company that does Four Kicks and Mil Dias and things like Broadway and Yellow Rose. And so, as such, the company is taking I would say, a pretty hard turn here. Not necessarily a 180, but for a company that has gone out of its way to not use Crown Heads as like a branding moniker other than for the Crown Heads Court Reserve, and there was a TA release that said Crown Heads, but everything else is branded like Four Kicks or Mil Dias, or I'm running out of brands here. But this is Crown Heads Broadway. It's not just Broadway. And so, I don't know if that means that going forward that Juarez is going to be known as Crown Heads Juarez, but we are going to see a very, very different look from Crown Heads if all goes to plan by the end of the year. Like if you walk into your shop and they have a new shipment of Crown Heads, a lot of these cigars are going to look really, really different. These types of portfolio makeovers are very interesting to me because it's a huge, huge risk. And there are some brands that I think have been very, very successful at it, most notably Camacho back in 2013 when Davidoff did a full-on, just top-to-bottom remake, and that's when those bold colors that you see today came about. More recently, like 4 or 5 years ago, Illusione started a full top-down portfolio makeover, and I've not spoken to Dion about that, about kind of like now looking back on it with a couple of years about how that's been perceived and whether it accomplished everything he was hoping for. But a good question for me to ask him when I see him next week in New Orleans. And it's going to be a good question to ask John Huber and Mike Conder in a couple of years about whether or not this was the right move for Crown Heads, because certainly some of these brands have fans, and some people are going to walk in the humidor and they're going to be looking for that Four Kicks or that Headley Grange band that they've been buying for the last decade plus, and they're not going to see it. And they're just going to walk right by the Headley Grange that has, if Headley Grange is one of these brands that's getting a makeover, they're going to walk right by it. And then it's going to require them to be told, like, oh, no, that's the same cigar. And they're going to smoke it. And they're going to be like, no, it's a different blend. And they're going to be like, no, it's the same cigar. Like, and it's a risk. And again, we have one, like, massive, massive success story in Camacho. But that doesn't mean that this isn't a huge gamble. And so curious to see it, curious to see what more of these lines look like, curious to hear retail reactions. And at the end of the year, I think that Broadway probably will just sort of get lost in the larger transition that's happening with Crown Heads. Maybe it's such an excellent cigar that it really stands out above that. But I suspect, I don't recall. Illusione did introduce new lines as part of that portfolio makeover, and it's very difficult, I think, for people to sort of remember them because it was just like, why is 88 going away? And I got to call this Robusto Extra, and what's this Corojo line? And so I don't think Crown Heads is going to necessarily lean as far into it as Illusione did, where the names were changing as well. But my understanding is it's going to be, as far as the packaging, a lot of it's going to look completely different. It's going to look very, very similar to this. So that is R5 each, total of 10, I think.
Quick, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless I missed one.
Predictions from the chat. Anyone nail the over-under on technical difficulties? Doesn't look like it. All right. We have one more show, and God knows how many technical difficulties there'll be for that one. It'll be April 18th at 12 p.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern. Brooks and I will be back at this table from New Orleans, probably hopefully 40 pounds heavier. And hopefully we'll have our voices. That's one thing I hadn't fully considered. If not, we'll call Terrence Riley, who definitely won't have his voice, and so we'll have him join the show and host it. And we'll talk about all sorts of things. We're going to review the predictions that we made last week, and we can figure out who's got to review the 7x70, the loser of that prediction show. We'll talk about some of the trends that we saw at, or fads, as some might say, at the 2025 PCA Convention in New Orleans, trade show in New Orleans. And we'll sort of talk about kind of what the mood of the cigar industry is and some other things going on, because this is one of those years, or one of those times of year, when you can really get a good sort of spot check about kind of where people think the industry is and where it might be heading. And if you're in New Orleans, you'll see members of Half Wheel around. Brooks and I will both be there, as well as Patrick Lurie, Brian Burt, as well as Kyle, our editorial assistant. And so we will be around. We'll have cameras and microphones and tripods and monopods and all sorts of stuff. And we'll be covering the trade show. For those of you that aren't going to the trade show and maybe want to win some free stuff, we're going to be doing giveaways thanks to Davidoff, who's sponsoring our on-the-ground coverage in New Orleans. And so we've got 4 different giveaways. The details will be announced each day, so starting Saturday, April 12th, and then Sunday, April 13th, and then Monday and Tuesday as well. The first 3 will sort of be somewhat limited. They're all the same contest that we normally run, so leave a comment on a post and you're entered to win. And it's the same as we've done for previous PCA giveaways, where for the Saturday giveaway, leave a comment on any of the booth coverage we do on Saturday and you'll be entered to win. And then Sunday and so forth. And then the big prize, which is I think a plus more than $2,000 value in prize in money. We're not giving away cash, but the value of the prizes that are included in that package, because it's not just one thing, it's many different things, pretty substantial. That will run from the sort of full length, so you'll have plenty of chances. You don't need to enter on Saturday, April 12th. You can wait a little while. All the details will be posted on Half Wheel, and you'll get daily booth coverage starting on April 12th. It'll last for about 2 weeks, hopefully. Where you can see all the new stuff that came out at the trade show. And if you didn't watch our previous show, I'd recommend not looking at all of it, although we don't mind the page views. And you'll also get some of the other daily features that we have at Half Wheel. So you'll get a daily blog from one of our writers, the What's in Your Bag feature, as well as Kyle's literary feature at lunch, where he may or may not talk about what we actually ate for lunch. One thing we will not be doing is interviews in the mornings of the shows. We'll still have our clips that you'll see in the booth coverage, but we're not going to do the long form or the sort of 25-minute interviews in the morning. We just sort of, it seemed like it ran its course. So your Saturday and Sunday mornings next week will not have to worry about that, and we're all better for it. I'd like to thank Drew Estate for sponsoring this week's coverage and sort of most of next week's coverage of our trade show coverage. For those of you that are unfamiliar, this is a very involved effort. It's sort of our Super Bowl, and it also costs a lot of money. We have an $8,000 bill for internet on the convention center floor, and so these ads might be a little bit annoying, but it's very nice that companies like Drew Estate, Davidoff, and quite frankly, I think a lot of other companies would like to buy these packages. We only have 2 of them to sell each year. And we're very thankful for that, because it requires a lot of money to do the coverage the way that we do, and to give you as much coverage and to give it to you as quickly as we do. And it would not be possible without a lot of people and entities, but the money is important when you're dealing with $8,000 bills for internet for 5 days. So, with that said, thank you for watching, and thank you to Drew Estate. Here is that ad one last time.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Drew Estate Izzy. Just a reminder that the Freestyle Live Reveal Show is coming up soon. Please make sure you check out our social media platforms, Facebook, as well as Instagram to find out dates and times for the Reveal Show. In addition, make sure you grab those Freestyle Live packs. You can find out where to get those packs from your retailers on our Drew Estate website. We'll see you guys soon.